According to Clarence Hill, look for the Cowboys to cross the finish line on hiring Brian Schottenheimer no later than Friday, possibly even today. Well, we've got new developments since that comment was made. We've had Nick Harris come out. We've had Ed Werder come out. We've had Josina Anderson come out. We've heard there's another name per Josina Anderson that's going to be outside the box that's not Deion Sanders. We've heard from Ed Werder and Nick Harris that the Brian Schottenheimer is not all but done, but maybe Pete Carroll is in play for your Dallas Cowboys.
And they said Pete Carroll and Jerry have actually talked today?
Correct. They said they have had a talk. They said, I think I saw from Jane or Josino that they talked, but it wasn't like a formal head coach interview. It was just like a talk.
Like a talk, like
same
with
Deion.
Uh-huh.
But we know with Jerry, with these talks, he's having them for a reason. I would love to believe, as just me being optimistic, that he's getting an external audit of his company. How do you think we're running things at the Cowboys? That's me being as optimistic as possible. How can we run the Cowboys organization better? You have been doing this a while. What is your 1,000-foot view of how we're running the team? But probably not what happened. So I'll ask you, Tolos, ask you, Fatties, why do you think that these people, Pete Carroll, Deion Sanders, we even heard Rich Bisaccia from the Green Bay Packers, special teams coordinator, used to be with the Cowboys as well, that maybe he's had some talks with Jerry in the front office.
By the way, Bones Fossil, for people who are wondering, where did he go? He's with the Tennessee Titans now.
Yep. So you've got a lot of vacancies. Everybody was on one-year deals. There's been rumors about Zimmer retiring, but he's coming back. But head coach, DC, you got nobody on the staff right now.
That just shows you that Jerry really had no idea he was going to be looking for a new coach. I think he thought Mike McCarthy would accept his low-ball offer. I think he totally, and Mike McCarthy said, the hell I just went through? Are you kidding me?
I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think
because they had no plan B. They would have been interviewing other people while they waited on Mike.
I think Mike caught them off guard, and we kind of understood that Mike caught him off guard because of everything that was happening during the Mike McCarthy conversations, because we heard Mike McCarthy was obviously going to be up for contract and figure out if they were going to re-sign him and all that good stuff. And the pushback was not the contract terms, but the kind of the football language of how they wanted to run the team. We heard from everyone. It never got to terms as far as years. It was, at least that was the report, that it was like pretty much how you want to run the football team, how you think this team should go forward. This is me speculating, whether it be in the draft, free agency, philosophy of the offense and defense.
People he wants to put on your coaching staff.
People he wants on the staff. They didn't see eye to eye, and I think the strong assumption is not that Jerry told Mike not to come back, but maybe that Mike was the one that walked away.
That's the whole thing. He lowballed Mike and all those strings attached, and Mike said, oh, hell no. No.
So
no, not and it could be in the same situation again a year from now. No.
I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, CA, Tolos, and Fatties as well, I don't think even in this coaching hire or even maybe the last 3-4 years have we had a new top candidate almost every day. I mean, I'm being a little hyperbolic, but for the most part, every day or every other day, there is a new guy that is in the number one spot.
That's because they don't really have anybody. And all the big names that you would think the Cowboys, being the most valuable franchise in the world, would just talk to. Didn't talk to none of them.
And I think the part that pisses me off the most is Jerry, who has said on this very program on the Fan about how it would be, I can't remember the exact adjective, but it would be crazy if you knew the amount of money that I would spend to get a Super Bowl when it comes
to pay the coach.
But when it comes to paying the coach, most valuable owner in sports,
it just doesn't make any sense.
That's most valuable team.
He would spend the money to quote unquote get the assets, but he won't pay that to a coach.
Yeah, and Sean and RJ,
he does not believe coaches are valuable, which is insane.
Sean and RJ talked about this yesterday. I played the clip for you Tolos on yesterday's show with James of Sean doing an amazing job of detailing kind of the pushback from how Jerry thinks to how Steven thinks, and that Steven did not want to bring back Mike McCarthy after the Green Bay loss. This is per Sean. He let us know that he didn't want him brought back. And Jerry was pushing for Mike McCarthy to be brought back.
That's a theory, by the way.
Theory, of course.
Because there's a lot of people who also think the opposite.
Yeah. From what I've gathered from, let's say, everyone at the station, everyone around the social medias, is that Brian Schottenheimer's biggest fan right now is Stephen Jones. It seems like Stephen Jones wants Brian Schottenheimer to be the guy. Mm-hmm. And I think some personnel, even some players around the Cowboys want Schottenheimer. They want maybe a new voice in there. Like, he's been here, but he hasn't been calling the plays. He's kind of had to go the low dog route. He isn't the one that's really snapping off. We know he hasn't been calling plays for a while. And I think Jerry's like, do I want my last hire to be Brian Schottenheimer? Is this even the guy I want? I think he wants a bigger splash. I think he's reading what you guys are texting in. I think he's reading what you guys are saying on social media. I think he's hearing Woolchuck rant and no one really excited for this season, and making Brian Schottenheimer your new head coach and what could be your last head coaching hire. It doesn't sound very Jerry Jones-like to me. Tell me if I'm wrong, CA.
You're wrong.
Okay.
You want to hear that? Because everybody's wrong. They're all speculate. Everything that you just said is speculation. Everything I'm going to say is speculation. And nobody's going to know what happens until it does. And the case in point I'm making, and I'm not picking on you in particular, I'm just saying everybody's theories. Just 1 week ago, everybody's saying it's going to be Deion. It's going to be Coach Prime. It's going to make the biggest splash. And then other people say, no, it won't. There are reasons why Deion Sanders and Jerry Jones, who are friends, didn't have any problem with that being out there. Mm-hmm. There's a reason. They know it's good business. They also know that they're good friends, and I don't think that their friendship could handle them working together. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Jimmy and Jerry used to be friends back in the day, and then Jimmy started working for Jerry, and then they had to have a divorce because the egos were too big. Again, there are people that are your friends. Ain't no way in hell you can work with them. There are people in your family. Ain't no way in hell you gonna work with. You love them, you like them, but you ain't gonna work with them. Not on something big. Yeah. So with that being said, let's go back to the drawing board here. Mm-hmm. Remember who hired Mike McCarthy? Do you remember? Does anybody listening, Tolos, do you remember who hired Mike McCarthy? It wasn't Jerry. It was Stephen. It was Stephen. Jerry was still looking at Jason Garrett. Remember him?
Yes.
That was the guy that Jerry could say, he's my new Tom Landry. Mm-hmm. Stephen interviewed Mike McCarthy, let Jerry talk to him, and then they told Jason Garrett, like later, Jason was at his office down the hall. That's how raggedy that was. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So why would Jerry, out of the blue, suddenly want to keep Mike McCarthy last year when everybody wanted to fire the whole coaching staff, including Jerry?
I mean,
I'm just saying,
trying to make sense of all this is driving me insane at night.
That's why it's a big mess. That's why he's doing this wrong. That's why he just knew that Mike McCarthy would take the low ball. Yeah. I don't think Jerry for 1 minute wanted to keep Mike McCarthy last January after that Green Bay game. He wanted to blow the whole thing up. Mm-hmm. And Steven said, wait a minute, pump the brakes. That was it. And then all of a sudden they said, calm our minds. Okay, let's run it back. That's my theory, and that's from people I talk to, too.
Yes.
So with that being said.
So we get the three-timer in here.
Well, it's just everybody's got theories. Mm-hmm. So when you go back to what does Jerry want, because that was the question, right?
Correct.
I know one thing, and I'm going to tell you the rest of the story on this, too, because I've said it before on the air. A lot of people don't know the details. When he had Jason Garrett to be the head coach, like, how did Jason Garrett even get here? Oh, he was going to be the head coach anyway, and he got Wade Phillips to hold it down till Jason Garrett was ready. That's not what happened. I was with the Joneses down in Miami during the Super Bowl week, because that's how long this thing went. They were going to make Norv Turner the head coach. Jason Garrett was going to be the offensive coordinator. At the time, Jason Garrett was only the quarterbacks coach for the Miami Dolphins with Nick Saban. Norv Turner, it was everything but announced. And then Norv Turner said, I've got to have my own defensive coordinator. I don't care about the other assistant coaches. And by the way, I'm not going to coach another 5-10 years in the NFL, 5-6 years, whatever. I'm going to retire. And me and Jason Garrett are tight friends. I ain't got no problem. We're a package, no problem. So he had already signed Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett was signed ahead of Wade Phillips. Norv Turner wasn't looking at no Wade Phillips. He was looking at the Bears defensive coordinator because the Bears defensive coordinator was his friend.
Yep.
Jerry interviewed. That's the way the Super Bowl was over with. Jerry backdoored or back-channeled interview. He said, wait a minute. He doesn't run the same kind of defense that Bill Parcells has. These are the guys I signed to big money contracts running a 3-4 as opposed to a 4-3. Well, North said, well, I can't be the head coach if I can't have this guy as my defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And guess what happens? Jerry had nobody. And guess what was available? Wade Phillips. Yep. By default. I've seen this play before. Yep. And Jason Garrett was already signed. Wade Phillips came in because guess what? He ran the same damn defense that Bill Parcells. So Wade Phillips, by default, became the new Cowboys head coach until he got fired. And then Jason Garrett became the head coach, the protege of Jerry Jones, who could say that he's my next Tom Landry. And then guess what? While Jason Garrett was sitting in his office, Steven was talking to Mike McCarthy. Nobody wants to hear those stories because they got their own conspiracy theories. But I'm telling you what happened.
Let's hear another conspiracy theory. Let's hear from our very own Sean and RJ. This is the clip I was referencing that I played yesterday. This is for the Tolos that weren't able to hear yesterday. If you did hear Gear Up, you can hear it again. This was Sean and RJ yesterday detailing kind of what they think and what they're hearing is going on behind the scenes and maybe why Mike McCarthy was or was not kept.
Jerry fed Bobby the McCarthy hit piece information.
He put up the Bob signal in the sky.
Yeah.
Time for the hit piece.
Yes. What would the Bob signal be? A plastic orange bottle?
A shot glass.
Yeah, the orange. Yes, that'll be it.
So, here's what I was told. Stephen Jones actually wanted to make the McCarthy change after the Green Bay game. When they lost to the Packers, Stephen Jones was like, all right, Pops, we need to make a change. Jerry was not going to pay someone to sit on a beach. He was not going to just watch that money flush down the drain. So I think the feeling kind of is Steven loves Brian Schottenheimer. So I think the feeling kind of is like, Dad, you kept Mike. Look what ended up happening. You did it your way. It's funny. We have this balance beam of opposite methods failing. So Steven can say to Jerry, you kept Mike. I wanted to replace him. Look how it ended up. Go with Brian. I love him. Jerry can say to Steven, your little frugal free agent plans cost us Derrick Henry, got us absolutely destroyed and annihilated with as much criticism as been in my 15 years here covering the team with Choppy in DFW. So they both have that on each other if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But my understanding is Steven loves Brian and was down to make the change on McCarthy after the Packers. So when I hear this much Schottenheimer, it's hard for me to just, and I have not been told what I'm about to say, but I would deduce common sense. Steven's making a major push here since he loves Schotty, and it's not just rogue solo Jerry.
All right, CA. I know you said you heard this on the air. Maybe some of the Tolos hadn't heard that. When you hear that from Sean, we were talking about theories and all of that. Help make sense of maybe what Sean's saying right here and what he's heard and kind of what you were just going on about. I thought you made some great points right there, kind of using history, using historicals of what happened the last time Jerry was in a similar situation.
It's great theories. Again, everybody loves a great conspiracy theory. And I'm not saying Sean is wrong. I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I heard different than that.
Yeah.
But on top of all that, I witnessed different from that. And what Jerry Jones, because the question of this segment is, what kind of coach does Jerry want?
Yep.
It seems like if you just go by what has happened in the past and what seems to be playing out right now, Jerry Jones wants a coach that will be a bridge to someone else. And the someone else I think he's looking at, the new Jason Garrett, would be Jason Witten. Because Jason Witten isn't ready yet. But he absolutely loves Jason Witten. Jason Witten's a great guy. Jason Witten might be the next Dan Campbell, but not yet. So if you're looking at why are they interested in Brian Schottenheimer, he's 51, but he's never been interviewed. Nobody's been talking about interviewing him for a head coaching job.
Nope.
Well, guess what? That sounds like placeholder to me.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Let me tell you why I say placeholder. Because he's been in the building for a couple of years. Guess who brought him in the building? Mike McCarthy.
Yep.
Not Jerry Jones. Not Stephen Jones. See what I'm saying?
Easy to let go.
That's a Mike McCarthy guy. But not only easy to let go. Remember this. Jerry was not extending anybody's contracts. All these assistant coaches are free to go anywhere they want to go. And to me, that's the fuse that nobody's talking about. It's one thing to say, we're going to bring in Brian Schottenheimer. You think Mike Zimmer's going to stay? I don't know. What about Al Harris? I go down the list. All of them are free. Because Jerry said, guess what? I have a high tolerance for ambiguity. Let's see if these efforts do too. And so here's the deal. Everybody can come up with their own theories of why, but until the hire is made, nobody really knows why. But guess what? It's easy to tell a Brian Schottenheimer, who's never been a head coach, who would love to have that on his resume at his, because he's 51. It's not like he's got all these years and young and there, it's not, follow what I'm saying? You get to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. F the salary. You have that on your resume, and you can say you were head coach of the NFL. And guess what? You're liked in the building. But guess what? You're only going to be that head coach until the other guy on the staff is ready. And I watched this with Jason Garrett and Wade Phillips. In other words, Brian Schottenheimer, to me, it seems like, and this is my opinion, if they hire Brian Schottenheimer, Jason Witten will be on his staff. And if Jason Witten turns into Dan Campbell, guess what? Jerry, you hit a home run. If he doesn't, all I can say is I hope all these assistants stick around, but they don't have to. And what makes you think they're going to stick around for Brian Schottenheimer when he was their equal? It wasn't like he was their boss. You see what I'm saying? I don't understand why the Cowboys they're doing this all wrong, just like they started the season all wrong when they had all these rookies as if they're going to be starters. That's on-the-job training. The assignment for all the players, veteran players, and coaches last year was get out of the freaking first round. Well, how do you get out of the freaking first round with rookies? You're watching on-the-job training. Oh, what about your backups? Well, the backups, you let them go. Half of them went to Dan Campbell in Washington. And guess what? We're going to replace them with wire cuts at the end of training camp. Oh, they'll never start because you're just looking for that. Guess what? Everybody got hurt, and they had to start. And you think you're going to get out of the first round with that mess? So this whole coaching search, I've seen it before, and it happened with Norv Turner, Wade Phillips, and Jason Garrett 15 years ago. It has nothing to do with who decided Mike McCarthy should leave or not. It could have been Steven, could have been Jerry. I personally think it was Jerry, and Steven talked him out of it. Because Steven's been talking Jerry out of bold decisions ever since he said no to Johnny Manziel. We're going to take Zach Martin. And by the way, no more free agent money to Derrick Henry and guys like that because you gave Brandon Carr $50 million. Jerry, put let go of steering wheel. And I'm mad about that because I like Jerry, the Wildcatter.
Yep.
That's what's missing. Steven is ultra-conservative, and that's why you have what you have.
214-CA, you made it all make sense. I forgive the Cowboys now, and I'm back as a fan. 15 wins and a Super Bowl. They enjoyed your fire. They enjoyed your talk. They're back on the fan bandwagon. So
they're not gonna Super Bowl.
They weren't listening too closely. They think Super Bowl.
It's a thirsty Thursday.
Pour
up
a drink.
Drinking and what you thinking?